Yo, Terry, let's get HTTR.
Yeah, HTTR.
Man, it's finally here. We are one step closer to Washington football on Sundays because this week is training camp. And today you are listening to the 13th installment of the Sidelines Washington podcast. We are here officially previewing training camp. We are, of course, brought to you by the Sidelines Sports Network, where I am, of course, the head of NFL operations, and your boy, Parker Hamlett. I'm still feeling a little bit hungover. Tuesday night, when the Milwaukee Bucks won the NBA championship. You know, of course, I had to say that. If you know me, I got to get that plug in there.
Must be nice.
Led by the MVP, 50-point burger, Giannis Antetokounmpo. Yeah, I said the name right. Yeah, I every time I wear the jersey in public, which people think I just bought yesterday, people always give me shit about that. But of course, this is a Washington football team podcast. It was nice, Rio. I'm not gonna lie. I know you thought I was gonna wear the jersey on the show. It didn't quite go like that. But
you should have.
I'm already getting enough shit for being a quote unquote bandwagon. You know, I was extremely happy for the other DC teams that have had success with the Nationals, Capitals, and stuff like that. I don't know about you guys, but I just want to see championship or teams win championships, man. I'm happy. I've always wanted that feeling, you know, and when I had it on Tuesday night, you know, I'm not at, you know, the Deer District in Milwaukee, but, you know, I'm at home chugging beer and it felt just as good. So God knows how I'm going to feel when the Washington football team actually comes out on top. And, you know, I think too many people are already talking about it possibly happening this year. But like I said, this, of course, is a Washington football team podcast, and the crew is here and ready to pod. Rio, Mr. Fan Ambassador, host of Raw Talk. I spent my Tuesday, as I just said, shotgunning beer. Some people spend it watching Twilight, which is finally on Netflix. You're a Jacob apologist, right?
You said what?
You're a Jacob.
I'm Team
right?
Jake. Oh yeah, I'm definitely Team Jacob, man. Edward has no personality. I don't know why the girls like this man.
You know, I guess because he's a pretty one. Adam, you know, I know you had some werewolf lovers in your mentions last week. I'm pretty sure they're making their return. Me and Rio and a bunch of other Watch football team fans kind of have zero shame for our love for these movies. It was kind of a thing for us growing up. Which side of history are you on? Team Edward, Team Jacob? You know, Jesse over there bleeding Burgundy. You guys aren't far away from each other in the age gap, and he was eating that shit up, man.
Listen, you know, I wanted to give you guys a chance because, you know, I'm quite a bit older than you guys, and so I watched a little bit of it, but man, that is the cheesiest shit ever, guys. Come on. Yeah, listen, okay, first of all, vampires, teeth, right? Okay, no teeth. Okay, vampires, daylight, no problem. They go on daylight. What the fuck is going on with it? Like, this whole storyline, everything they got, like, I got through probably 40 minutes, and then I skipped ahead and watched little. I just don't get it, man. I just don't get it.
Hey, I promise you though, the first one's the worst one though. I promise that.
Yeah, it's not even close. It's not even close. I mean, the entire thing.
I'll watch the second one. See, the thing is, I'll give it a chance. I'm not gonna watch the rest of the first one, but I'll watch the next one. But man, that first is bad. That's bad. That's bad programming right there, man.
Vampires have evolved, Adam.
Yeah.
Don't they glitter in the light? They glitter when they go outside, correct?
Yes, they also sparkle, Adam. You forgot to mention that they
sparkle in the light. It's crazy. I haven't seen the movie in 10 years. I have no idea.
I don't know about you, man, but it was lit when those movies came out. There was all kinds of book clubs.
Hell yeah, that was a good time.
It's like the Hatfields and McCoys of our middle school, man. It was some serious stuff. But
yeah, I thought Lost Boys was cheesy. You know, like I don't know if that goes way before you guys. Like that was pretty cheesy. But this just went way past what that ever was. But we all have stuff that are like if you guys saw that, you'd probably be like it's pretty cheesy. But like I said, it's a very standard vampire like 101. And I guess with those whole stories, the books and everything, they just skipped that. But that's what threw me off.
These are millennial vampires, man.
Yeah, it's a good vampire movie.
They get emotional and everything. It's pretty wild.
Everybody's definitely overacting in those movies. That's for sure. Showing a little bit too much emotion. You know, Adam, I know that you had an emotional night the other night. It was your last episode, Football Garbage Time. I'm sure that was bittersweet for you, wasn't it?
You know, Hai Kung is a great guy. I learned a lot from as far as organization, everything. I probably went on his show about 24 times before I became co-host 7 months ago. But, you know, it's just one of those things where, you know, it's just the continued fantasy content and stuff like that. And I'm trying to, you know, really, you know, more target the Washington fan base. So, you know, it's just time to really get this and, you know, working on my solo project. So, you know, it was bittersweet, but yeah, it's just fun to just be riding this out, man.
For sure, man. Classy answer. A lot of class by you, not a lot of class by these damn fan ambassadors getting all this damn extra merchandise. Rio, you weren't going to escape, man. I don't see how 30 of you guys getting all that merchandise is fair to, thousands of others not getting it. I just look, you scroll down the timeline, man. Oh, only got a hat. It just feels like nails on a chalkboard to me.
Hey, before we get to that though, we got to introduce my guy George. We got to intro my guy. We got to intro my guy.
Thank you, Rio.
Whoa. First of all, it's got to be grandiose with George as well. But you weren't gonna miss this fade about the fan ambassador stuff, man. I mean, Keith got almost put in fucking ICU over there. What do you think of the backlash?
I'm gonna put my diplomat hat on and say, you know what? Look, we're all in this together. We are all fans of the same team, but at the same time, shut the fuck up. Like at the end of the day, like we're season ticket holders too. We got selected in these positions, and there were reasons we got selected for these positions. Also, we haven't even received our season ticket package yet for this year. So let's wait till that comes before we sit here and, oh my God, this ambassador got this and I got a hat. Like, relax. Like, it's okay. Like, I see people, oh my God, but they don't get paid and they don't. It's not that serious. We are doing positive things for the franchise. Sign up next year and kill the interview. And we can move on from there. I want to see the team win. I want to see the fan base unite and not be so adversarial and toxic because I love everybody. Let's get over that. Go ahead and intro my guy now.
Man, that was such, Rio's getting Hollywood, man. What a media answer. He really tried to avoid that. Rio isn't abusing all of his power. He got the marching band back together. We had a lot of name change talk last week. I definitely felt a wave of relief that we did not go through the same process that Cleveland Indians fans just went through when they were just named the Cleveland Guardians earlier today. I mean, how underwhelming was that? Tom Hanks announces it. Nice little touch there, but there's absolutely no buildup, and too many people over here complaining about anticipation, in my opinion. But like you said, without further ado, I could not think of a better topic to start off with than the name change, because our special guest, friend of the show, editor at Full Press Coverage Washington and writer for Sports Illustrated, as well as now the Burgundy Zone, George Carmi. George, thanks for listening, man. Welcome to the show.
No, man, of course. Thank you for having me here. I'm really happy to be with all you guys. Respect you guys. All the content. I know Adam for a couple of years, busting out some good work. Parker, I met you. Rio, my first time meeting you, but looking forward to getting to know you, man.
Yes, sir. Glad to have you on, man.
And then there's Rio.
No, I get real love. Man, come on.
Oh, yeah, man.
I mean, George, I got to ask.
Mix it up on the timeline.
We do.
How anticlimactic did you think Cleveland's announcement for the name was? And are you glad that Washington's kind of at least building and generating some hype with the rebranding process?
Yeah, so I think there's two sides to it, right? So for one, there is some beauty. It's ripping off the Band-Aid, it's putting the name out there, it's getting the Guardians out there, not going through this whole process and kind of dragging it out. But I just think our fan base, with how passionate we are and how much we care about this team, I think Washington's doing it the right way. I think you definitely need to get some stakeholder feedback. We definitely do some interest groups to kind of hear from people. And, when they first talked about putting this team out, they were like, hey, we want a name that stands the test of time for the next 100 years, right? And I like the fact that we are getting feedback from people. And, I think what all of us have to do, we talked about it pre-show, whatever the name is going to be, we're going to stand behind it. We're going to rally behind it too. We're going to become the Washington football team, Red Bulls, Wolves, whatever, Sentinels, whatever it is. We're going to follow behind it. And I do like the fact that we're taking the time. I do think 1 year was good enough there, right? I don't know why we're doing this whole 2 year waiting for 2022. Right. I think 1 year we could have got it done, but I do like the patience. I'd rather do it well. One last thing. I do like the fact that they are giving us the rationale with the name too, right? They canceled Warriors last week, and they were like, hey, this is the reason why we're not doing that. That's great. I mean, we're hearing their thought process. I think that goes with us. It builds credibility with the fans, but it also builds credibility with the media too, right? It's like one of the criticisms today was, hey, the Cleveland Indians or the Guardians, they basically just threw the name out and didn't tell the fans why and what was going on. They're kind of blindsided. And the people said they didn't even give the Native Americans their just due, but we're listening to the Native Americans, we're listening to everything. We're doing it the right way. So I'll take that.
And that's the thing. You got a lot of these fans caught up in the process, getting irritated with everything. And to me, you can't really fault the organization for trying to make a spectacle out of something as rare as this. You know, it's kind of a sad situation with, like you said, the Native Americans not getting their proper justice with the entire Cleveland Indians situation. But the Washington football team, believe it or not, in comparison to that, is definitely doing it the right way. And, you know, as expected, you came to the rebranding talk very well prepared. You know, spent plenty of time talking about the name last week. The guys over at Washington football team declassified. You wearing the draft party shirt. Met you there. Football festivities, man, they're finally coming back in full swing. Rubber's finally hitting the road. And it's finally time to talk training camp, man, because we're on the fast track back to the season that hopefully, fingers crossed, doesn't end with any forfeits. This is the first training camp open to the public of the Rivera era. And since the name has changed, George, how was it as a fan not having training camp last year?
It was tough. I mean, obviously, I think all of us, right? We just crave football. We crave the attention. We crave watching the players and watching them develop. I think that was just difficult for all of us, right? We'd hear from third parties. Last year actually was deep in the whole Sports Illustrated vibe. I was working with Chris Russell and Rick Snyder, and it was hard because they were allowed to go to training camp, but I was kind of on the back burners and I couldn't. And that was devastating, right? Because I'd basically have to write my articles from what they were telling me. And it was kind of difficult because I wanted to be there and form my own opinion. But it's almost like I didn't feel, I was putting my 2 cents in, but I didn't feel like I had the power of the
third party work, basically.
Was that? Yeah, third party work.
Exactly. Like a third party.
Yeah, I feel like I didn't have the authority and the power to really stick my flag on the ground. Like, this is what I saw, it's what I feel, and that was definitely difficult. So I think for one, all 4 of us, right? I think we all really care about the team. You watch the plays and the X's and O's. You definitely see that in person. And there's that other added fun element of being at the actual Richmond and seeing the fans there too, which is pretty cool. So I'm really happy it's coming back.
And there's definitely a lot of things that you can see in person in a camp that just do not translate to articles. Mm-hmm. And to me, that human aspect of it was really lacking. You know, Rio, like me, I know you and George, you attend a lot of events, as many as you can from what I've seen. How was it as a fan not having camp last year?
Oh, it definitely hurt. It definitely hurt. That last year period, it was terrible. We were in the house. We were starving for any update we could get from camp, but even the media credentials were limited. It hurt, but I'm looking forward to get back around. We build all these bonds and relationships on social media and through these content creations. And I'm looking forward to meet a lot of people. I'm ready to pull out my GoPro in Richmond. I'll be out there from Wednesday through Saturday next week. And I'm ready to meet some people, talk some shit, and watch some football be practiced with no injuries. That is the main thing I want to not see down there. Just please let it be healthy. Even if it's awful football being played, please no one get hurt. That's it.
Agreed.
That's one thing that kind of scares me about the Friday Night Football game. Just any live action football, while it's great to be around it, it just definitely scares you. You remember this time last year, a lot of injuries were happening during training camp. A lot of guys going off the shelf. We'll talk about Cam Akers a little bit later. That was a guy that the Los Angeles Rams just lost for the season. Their bell cow back. Adam, I know it's been a while since you've been to camp, and some perceive that what I'm about to say is kind of a tired narrative. But with so much turnover in the organization, even though I wanted to be there, in my opinion, it was good for business. I remember having Bram Weinstein on the show a while back saying he would have given anything to call that Taylor Heineke touchdown at FedEx Stadium. But in my opinion, us not being there was kind of a necessary expense. And, the people up front certainly have a blueprint in place. And, if you need any indication of that, look no further than JP, Mitch, and Pete's interview with team president Jason Wright, I think last week, where they discussed everything as far as rebranding and exclusively what we're going to talk about, stadium plans. Adam, based off of Jason's comments, which he didn't share much, where do you see the groundwork being? You see an RFK reunion, Tyson's Corner, which direction are you leaning in after hearing Jason Wright?
I'm just not sure I'm buying really all of it, because I still think that's the location is a big issue, because it's nobody wants him. DC is tough. There's a lot of hurdles they're going to have to go through with DC. So I'm just not sure they're going to, I've just heard Virginia is the one that keeps coming up. I'm just not sure how that's going to go. But, the way it's going to work now, regardless of where the stadium is, just look at the Raiders, look what they're doing. If he can build a stadium that's going to be, he's going around the world looking at these soccer stadiums, these impressive places around the world. If he's going to really do it, location's going to matter, but it's going to be more about what kind of stadium you can put together, what kind of fan experience, how accessible is it going to be? Because that's a huge issue at FedEx right now. I haven't been in years, but I know that was an issue even when I went. And when I drove and did the shuttle, it was still annoying. So I think they have to mainstream all of that. Once they do, they're going to have sellouts, because it's not like they have to have Super Bowl teams. look how many in a couple years they went from nobody coming to now they're going to be selling out games. So it doesn't really take much. And once you have a new stadium, everybody wants to come to a new stadium, even the layman fans. So really, I don't know about that last concept we saw a couple years ago with the moat and all that. That was Bruce Allen. So who knows if, that's going to work.
That ain't it.
I don't think so. Yeah. I know that's not it. Like, that's nonsense. So I think that they probably scrapped that whole idea, and hopefully they're looking for something, more fan interactive, a game day experience, I would hope.
If it's half the pedigree of what the Raiders got cooking on over there, it's definitely going to sell out. And, in my opinion, training camp is going to be packed for the first time, and definitely since maybe like 2015, 2016. Mr. Fan Ambassador Rio Robinson, like I said, Jason didn't really show much of his hand, but, from what you picked up in the interview, what is your gut telling you about what direction they could possibly be leaning in as far as their future stadium?
I think what Jason does such a great job of not showing his hand, but saying a lot at the same time, because he definitely divulges information, but he divulges just enough to not really give us any answers while actually giving us like information. Like, he's really good at that. Like, that's a sharp guy. But I personally think the stadium's gonna be somewhere in Virginia. That's what I feel. Like, Terry McAuliffe's been trying to get the stadium in Virginia for a long time. Sports betting being legal, I think we're going to get some type of state-of-the-art stadium. There's going to be some type of community nearby. It's going to be insane. There's going to be a sports book in it. I think Daniel Snyder is seeing everyone's stadium, and he's heard 20 years of insults about FedEx Field, and he's going to go absolutely nuts, especially considering now that he is 100% full majority owner of the team. That stadium is going to be insane. Ticket prices are going to be crazy. That's why I'm glad I jumped in as a season ticket holder right now before the new stadium comes. So, I can get on that list every year, because good football and good business are finally going to merge here. And we're in for a treat and a new generation of Washington football. I'm so excited. I can't wait to see what they're cooking up.
The key word at everything you just said, and something that kind of is parallel to what Jason was talking about when he was talking to mention them, is the word community. He was mentioning kind of all the surrounding factors about where the stadium would be, all the stuff that kind of factors into it. Like you said, sportsbook and all that other stuff. There's so many moving parts with that. And that is definitely not happening anytime soon. That's definitely a distant thing. But George,
26.
Yeah. George, where do you envision the Washington whatever's playing?
Well, it's interesting, right? I think the number one goal would be to go to Washington, D.C., but I think Adam's right. I just think it's like there's too much federally owned land there. They're not going to be able to get in there. It's hard, a lot of loopholes, a lot of red tape that they've crossed to get through. I do think this is what I think and what I would hope, right? I think it's going to be Virginia. I do think it's probably the most logical place. There's a lot of open land, maybe Loudoun County near the metro or something like that, kind of around that area. And that does kind of go along with what you guys are saying, right? Like, Jason writes, he wants to revitalize the area. He wants to build up the community. And that's what I want people to start thinking about, right? It's more of a macro perspective of what we're building here, right? It's going to be a community event. It's going to be a community venue, right? It's going to be football 16 times a year. But the stadium's going to be used like 200 other times, concerts and things of that nature. And Jason Wright even mentioned like revitalizing schools and giving money back to the area. So that's why Virginia would work. What I'd love to see, and this is my Maryland bias, is the National Harbor. I think by Oxon Hill, man, I think right by there is pretty awesome. You talk about sports books. Right across from MGM Grand is fantastic. There is an open area there. And for those of you that have not been there, there's National Harbor, which is like a little restaurant bar scene, which is really, really cool. That's where the whole Washington Eye is there, the big carousel is there as well. And I'd be kind of think about that, right? An away fan or if someone comes from out of town, you stay in the MGM hotel, you wake up, you have a Bloody Mary, you're gambling, playing poker all day long, you jump in a taxi cab, go across the street, go to the football game, have a blast, man. It's a good little setup right there. So I'd love for that to happen.
That'd be dope.
It will be cool, man. It's actually right, it's like right there. Maryland, Virginia, DC is a little piece right in the middle of all three, and that would work. But the only problem is the traffic, as Adam mentioned. It's a nightmare right now.
God.
It's a nightmare right now before you even add a stadium. So think about that, right? So it's crazy.
You don't really sound like Maryland bias to me. That just sounds like a good time all around.
Oh, yeah.
Those Washington football team guys, that certainly sounds good to them. I think Mitch is going to cry if they don't just completely clear Tyson's corner. I say one thing on the stadium.
I 100% guarantee it has a retractable roof
I hope so.
because Snyder wants to host Super Bowls and he wants to have an advantage. And if you can take weather out of the factor, like you do it, especially in 2021, you have to have a retractable roof or dome.
100%.
Yeah, it's just one part of the modern day NFL. It's just something that you've got to implement with your stadium. And like you said, he's tired of being the ass end of the joke. He's ready to spend the big money like the other owners are across the National Football League. Speaking of the Watch Football Team guys, Watch Football Talk guys, I there better be a damn pod party or we're gonna riot. To me, that's kind of a tradition for me as well at this point.
Oh, it is. It's happening.
Yeah. I mean, whenever it's training camp season, I have a lot of memories attached to that and training camp as well. But Adam, I'll start with you. Do you have a personal favorite memory from training camp?
Man, this is going back. The last time I was there, it was when before Champ Bailey got traded. It was Champ Bailey and Darryl Gray. That's the last time I went there. And man, back then it was just crazy. It was like a college scene. It was, they had the tents and they just had the tables laid out. You just came with your jerseys and football. Like you really could go to one person. You couldn't go to each one and get an autograph. It was like you chose one and that was it. So my wife would go here, get the Champ Bailey signed jersey I got, and I went to, whoever was there. I don't even remember. I got some other schmuck that didn't last the game. But back then it was just very different. Like, you would hear the pops on the field. You were like literally that close. It wasn't like you had to climb through people. It was really accessible. I bet there wasn't more than probably 1,500 people then when we went. So, hopefully my goal is next year to be there because, I miss it. It's been way too long.
You talk about having to fight through walls of people, man. People are ruthless now at training camp, man. There's little kids catching elbows from adults trying to get to the front. I mean, it's crazy. You guys are fine. I know you know exactly what I'm talking about.
100%.
George, after 2012, camp was an absolute madhouse. I'll never forget my dad dropped a football that London Fletcher threw directly to him in the crowd, the general section. I still haven't really forgiven him for that. Kind of estranged. Do you have any personal favorite memories from camp yourself?
I got two actually. So one, I think me and Adam must have been there at the same time, man. Believe it or not. So I was there a long time ago, and back when I was going, Fan Appreciation Day, you had to stand in line. That was kind of the way it went, right?
That's how it was, right?
Yeah, exactly. And the hardest part of this is like devastating to me. It was good and bad, but it was devastating, right? I went to camp. I had like the Spear helmet, a little mini helmet. I saw Joe Gibbs, the autograph my helmet. That was dope as hell. It was pretty cool. And then I actually had like a media guy with all the different like players' pictures inside that magazine, right? I was like, all right, cool. I'm going to pick a player. And every single time, LeVar Arrington, every time I try to see him, he always faded me, man. He wasn't really cool. He wasn't really like, interactive with fans for real, right? And I was like, all right, like me and my buddy Steve, we're sitting here together. I'm like, all right. He's like, George, you're going to go to. I'm like, all right, LeVar Arrington, I'm going to go LeVar. I want to see LeVar. He's a big player, 56, whatever. I have a friend, Steve, like, I'm going to go to Sean Taylor. I'm like, God damn it. He got in line, got Sean Taylor's autograph. He has a helmet. He has a helmet of Sean Taylor and Joe Gibbs signed on one helmet. I got LeVar Arrington's picture right behind me right here. I mean, it's cool and all, but I missed out big time on Sean Taylor, which was devastating. Wow. So that story
definitely pales in comparison.
Oh, yeah.
So that's story one. And then story two is it was good at the time, and now it's like I feel dirty doing it. But like a couple of years ago, I bought an LSU Darius Geis jersey. I was rocking a Darius Geis jersey at training camp, right? And I was like, all right, cool, this is dope, right?
Yeah.
Fan Appreciation Day. People going wild. Like Darius Geis was the talk of the town. Blow pop. He was chilling, whatever. I was like, yo, Darius, I'm wearing number 5 over here, whatever. It's going like this. He's just looking around. There's like 30,000 people. He's like, look directly at me. He just ran over because I was wearing the Darius Geis jersey. So he ran over to me. He signed my jersey and he signed my other jersey that I had, 2 of them, which is pretty cool. It actually was on NBC Sports Washington, but I was like, dude, I have 2 Darius Geis jerseys, but can't even rock them anymore because like got some shady pass going on right now, so I can't really represent. So,
old predator.
Leave Nemo alone, man. Darius Geis, I mean, got a lot of that stuff cleared out, and I heard he's aiming for an NFL return. I saw him posting some stuff today, but I mean, you didn't know. I mean, in the moment, I mean, just the gravity of that situation. People think he's gonna be a franchise running back. I mean, I envy you there, and I mean, he of course loves LSU. He got to do whatever he wanted to there. But Rio, Cousins
pretty much.
Kirk Cousins mania was also rampant. What is your personal favorite training camp memory?
I got a couple too. Like I was a kid, and I think I was like 11. Steve Spurrier was the coach, and I was like leaning over the gate to get Rod Gardner's autograph. And like as it was happening, he was getting interviewed. So I was in the camera shot for like 2 minutes of an interview, just hanging there waiting for my autograph.
Can you find it now?
That's awesome.
I don't know if I can find it. I don't know if that exists. I'm literally hanging over
profile
the
picture,
gate.
man.
There's like a bunch of people, and I'm sitting there with a marker, and I actually got his autograph. Surprised he didn't drop the Sharpie when I gave it to him, because Rod Gardner cannot catch. That's what I call 50,
Mr. 50-50.
50, yeah. Hell yeah. And just a couple years ago, it was Dwayne and Terry and them's rookie year. My guy Bobby Hutton blessed me with a VIP pass to training camp.
Love Bobby.
Yeah, that's my guy. It's my guy. And he let me and my son come in the VIP with him, and we met like half the team, got a bunch of autographs, even got my Dwayne Haskins card signed, which meant nothing, and I already gave it away for free of charge to a friend of mine who still has hope that he could salvage his career. Bless his heart. But yeah, it was just nice to see my son meet all these players. Like he was in awe. Like, wow, it's that simple to just take pictures and meet football player. And it felt good to see my son actually enjoy football, because I can't get this boy off of goddamn Fortnite and Roblox and Minecraft. So I'm excited to see my son get more into it, because he's excited about the new name and all of that. I'm excited to see that. So I enjoyed camp a couple of years.
Awesome.
With Fortnite, man, you can blame LeBron for that. You're feeding the machine. You guys are making me feel like a fetus, man. You got all these old throwback training camp memories, meeting all these players. I mean, to me, what really bothers me is that, I'm about an hour and some change away from the Bond Scores Training Center, and I know a bunch of people that just don't go. I mean, it's free of charge. It's priceless experiences you can have. I guess it really depends on what kind of fan you are.
Dude, you live in like the randomest city in Virginia. Like, I promise you, I've never heard of the city you live in Virginia before.
Hey man, don't disrespect Farmville, man. Next week when our bonus episode comes out, Dunn and Drew, they were asking me how close I was to FedEx, and when I told them that their jaws hit the floor, like, oh my god, man, you are a real fan. But when it comes to training camp memories, I've met all kinds of players at camp. Had some really cool conversations. Two of them, like reminiscent of you guys, really stand out to me. I met Will Compton. Of course, he's my favorite player. Too sweet of me, took a picture, sat there and talked to me and my friend for a while. But I'll tell you, the one interaction that I had in the same season that Dwayne and Terry were rookies, like Rio was just talking about, was when I met Terry McLaurin. At the time, he was a rookie, third-round draft pick. He generally did not have a lot of hype, definitely not as much as guys like De'Ami Brown have now. And he wasn't getting like Josh Norman level attention. You guys know how it works at camp. So, me and the people I was saw him on the field, called for him, and, lo and behold, Terry McLaurin walks over to us. It's kind of, near the end of the festivities. He's talking and already carrying himself like a 10-year pro, man. You could see the chip on his shoulder, and then, he pointed straight at my camera and said HTTR. And I've always kept that clip because I'll never forget that conversation he had with all of us, because then he just went out that season, man, and just absolutely burned the world down. What a home run pick for the organization as well. I met him that camp too. And what was funny was I was there the first week. It was crazy. It was like the third day, and we all realized at the same time, like, he's starting. He's with the starting offense, and Josh Doxson was not. We were like, Josh Doxson's not with the starter. McLaurin's with the starter. They told us he was going to play special teams a little bit. Gruden saw him in mini camp and was like, shit, he's going right in the starting lineup. That was crazy. Even Jay couldn't fuck that up. I mean, his rise was meteoric. I'll never forget. A lot of people kind of rolled their eyes. What'd you say, Adam?
Sorry, go ahead, bro. I was just saying, Jay's an evaluator, man. Jay's like, he's not a good head coach, but he's an evaluator. He saw Matt Ioannidis. He saw McLaurin. He's seen a couple guys in his time, man.
I'll give him that. I agree.
Like all that, like that's
there were certainly some good draft picks during Jay Gruden's tenure with the Washington football team, and I mean, I've definitely seen coaches have way worse runs with the Burgundy and Gold. You guys could definitely attest to that. But I mean, I definitely think we got the best wide receiver out of that bunch. I mean, for God's sakes, you guys see DK Metcalf miss that pitch. Whew. That shit was brutal.
Oh, good. Question before we move on from there: why was Will Compton your favorite player?
Okay, I actually have a legitimate explanation for this because a lot of people just kind of remember he was with the organization 4 or 5 years. They remember where he was drafted. He was mainly because he's a player I've had a lot of conversations with. I've had a lot of interactions with him on social media. And to be honest with you, when he started busting with the boys with Barstool and kind of started becoming really ingrained in the podcast game.
His pod's great.
Yeah, his pod's fantastic. If you guys haven't heard that, go check out Busting with the Boys. I think he hosts with teammate Taylor Lewan. It's great stuff. He's just funny as shit, man. He was always a guy that I just loved when he was mic'd up. He's also a big wrestling fan. Me and him always kind of talked about that as well. Just a very level, down to earth dude. Everywhere he goes, whether it be the Raiders, the Titans, he just fits right in, man. He buys into the.
Okay, so he was your favorite person on the team. He wasn't your favorite player.
I mean, but player person, those things can kind of go hand in hand, man. You learn don't you learn to root for the person too sometimes? I mean, you got to be objective about stuff. But
I loved Rex Grossman. I thought Rex Grossman was a great guy. I didn't want to see him play on Sundays.
For your argument, I expect you to say somebody a lot better than Rex Grossman. I felt the same. If it makes you feel better, I felt the same way about John Beck, who's getting a lot of work nowadays. Which
he's great now.
He's a guru now, right? It's crazy. I can't believe he's doing that.
He's been on Keim's spot a couple times, but with the whole DK Terry thing, it's not a competition. I mean, I think it's also kind of unfair for people to compare this year's camp to years prior. I mean, how do you guys kind of see these COVID restrictions affecting the overall fan experience? Adam, I'll start with you.
It's concerning because with the percentages that we're hearing, from what I understand, it's mostly, I guess, the ones on the roster bubble, like the guys in the back end of the roster that all have it. So there's a lot of guys, not just Montez Sweat, that are not, that are not just saying they're waiting for more, to research it more. They're just saying they're not going to get it. So it's concerning because I think, we're already starting to see today, a couple cases, already starting to happen, variants happening, this and that. So I hate to say it, but I could see from even now till camp, there could be problems. So, I think when you start to get into fall, I think that's when the big concern is going to be. But I think it will be probably minimal through summer. But it's definitely going to be a huge concern.
COVID, as we've talked about before, is definitely a touchy subject. I think the Washington football team has definitely handled, COVID very well up to this point. As far as their rates, especially within the organization, as far as players are concerned, last year one of the lowest rated overall in the National Football League. Rio, over the years, the fans have had a lot of free access to players in Richmond, getting autographs, as we were just talking about. But these guidelines are in place. How do you feel like this will affect everybody's experience this year at the Bon Secours Training Center in Richmond?
I mean, it's definitely gonna sting a little bit not being able to run up to the gate and try to get an autograph while the players are on the way out and stuff like that. But I figure there's going to be some way for us to get autographed merch, and I'm just glad we can go. I'll take it because I know a month from now we're going to be going to games, and we're going to be going to preseason and then regular season games. I will take anything I could get. I want to get back around and interact with fans, and in this capacity, I will take it. And we may run into some people at some events, at a podcast party. We can meet up at different, we can make stuff happen, around the fact that we can't meet the players and stuff. And I'm pretty sure they're going to find some type of way, especially for those in the VIP section, to get some stuff from the players.
Yeah. I definitely feel for guys.
They're going to find a way to make it happen.
I really feel for
him. Oh, man, I hate that Burroughs can't come out for the season opener. He's supposed to come out for the first 2 games. I hate to hear that, man. This is COVID
I was ready to schedule.
When are we going to get over it, man? When are we going to get past this COVID shit, man?
I was ready to schedule everything around meeting Burroughs, man. I hope he can finally make his way over here. But like you said, we kind of make the best out of the situations that we're given. We're norming a return to normalcy, taking another step in the right direction. George, everybody has their opinions on the vaccine, how the country and the National Football League are handling it. It's an elephant in the room now, and it's definitely becoming more prevalent, especially this week. I don't have to tell you that. How do you feel like these guidelines will overall affect the experience? And overall, and let me give you a little bit of a follow-up question. Something Adam mentioned last week was, do you feel like the teams are going to be monitoring merchandise, kind of paying attention to the fans as they're coming in? Is this kind of like a very survey kind of experience for the Washington football team?
So it's going to be interesting. I think Rio's on the right path, right? We just talked about it earlier in the show. we have these like embedded memories that we have from going to training camp and meeting players and these fun experiences, fun interactions. And it's going to hurt. It's going to take a hit with this whole COVID, breakdown, right? Like I think we have to be 20 feet away from the players. You can ask for autographs. That's going to be tough. I do think the players are going to be excited to see us. I think they'll kind of yell at us from afar and kind of talk to us and things like that. And I do think Jason Wright and all the front office staff is kind of savvy enough to basically do something, right? Like, raffle and 50-50 raffles and win a prize, get an autograph or something like that. So it's going to be fun. And honestly, it's the best that we can do, because all things considered, right? COVID's interesting, man. Like, I know there's a hot topic on there. Like, I don't know how political y'all want to get on this little podcast right here. But like for me, like, I don't know if y'all know, like my primary job is I'm a teacher, right? So I got my COVID vaccines in March. I got them a long time ago. And since then I've been interacting with people, going places, mostly with my mask off. I'll be straight up with y'all. And I don't go in the business of like, I am like, pro, like go get a vaccine, right? But at the same time, I'm also like, I'm not in the business of telling people what to do. So that's kind of where I'm like, if you don't want a vaccine, if you don't feel comfortable, if you feel like, I know one of my good friends has like heart issues in general, right? Is afraid to get the shot because of, might perpetuate, make a worse heart issue, right? So I see that. I'm not stubborn to tell someone what to do, but I do see this, there's going to be some issues for basically teams with COVID exposure and things like that. We saw that with Bradley Beal with Team USA. He basically was going to go out and play in the Olympics. He can't go anymore because he had COVID or, was suspected of having COVID. So that's tough. I think, I don't know, my advice to people is don't pass judgment on people. You don't really know what people are going through. People have a lot of things going on. So, I know we root for the team and we want them to do the best they can, but hopefully that's what we have depth for, and hopefully we can kind of plan around it. And Washington, through the heart of COVID, was wise enough to avoid getting COVID, so they didn't do it again. So that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, they played through the COVID year. Ron Rivera and coaching staff definitely made adjustments throughout all of those situations, and I trust that no matter what obstacles they face this upcoming season in regards to COVID, which, like I said, they managed very well last year, they'll be able to overcome them. Adam, you were kind of like Nostradamus with it a couple weeks back, saying this vaccination thing would become very prevalent. Mentioning Montez Sweat. We've seen, today across the league, coaching staff, people losing their jobs. But,
yeah.
On the sunny side of things, I'm just going to be happy to be at camp, guys. Just like the draft party, I love the addition of the later evening walkthroughs. The sun will be down.
That's awesome.
It'll be awesome. It'll be nice.
Oh, yeah, I love that.
Sun won't be beaming down to you. That's honestly the part I'm looking forward to the most. Fan Appreciation Day, as per usual, is going to be absolutely ruthless. I'm also eager to finally see guys like Chase Young in person and see this revamped Washington football team, who is the polar opposite of what they were the last time that they were in Richmond. And this revamped Washington football team offense, of course, is led by veteran journeyman quarterback Ryan Fitzpatrick, who we discussed plenty last week when Ellie and Eric enlightened us and kind of let us know that we aren't exactly a pro Fitzpatrick podcast. Fitz also said last week on ESPN that this is the best opportunity that he has had as the guy. Adam, based off his body of work, is that proclamation true?
Yeah, I think so. I think anywhere he's went, he's kind of been more, be the game manager, not the situation where he's going to be the man. And I think it's just kind of a foregone conclusion to Washington. But I think, Taylor, he took the challenge. And so far he's shown, physique wise, he's matched it. So I think with camp, I think everyone's like, it's Fitzpatrick's job to lose. And I in a way, I agree. But what I kept saying is I'm saying my bold prediction that Taylor will start by week 1, because I think that he's older and I think Fitzpatrick could just go have anything happen. I just looking at him, he didn't look like the picture of health to me. He's got it going against this defense every day, day in and day out, is going to not be good, so I could see him, somewhere getting close this season and him just not being ready. But I think Taylor Heineke is a guy that it's him versus health. That's what I keep saying. If he can keep it going, I think that I think he'll make this offense run better than Fitzpatrick. But if Fitzpatrick does it, I think that he can have some level of success, but I think there'll definitely be a cap to that kind of success.
Rio, we got Heineke waiting in the rafters like Sting, like Adam mentioned. Then you got Ron's illegitimate son, Kyle Allen, who's recovering from his ankle injury. Did Fitz hit the nail on the head here, and will he assert his dominance at training camp?
Dominance, that's a big word, man. Dominance is a big word for the quarterback position here, considering that does not exist. But I think he's right about this is the best situation he's been in And it's for more reasons than the team he's playing for. Our division's not great. We're in a division that the winner won 7 games last year. Granted, Rain Dakota Prescott didn't play for most of the season last year, but he's in a division that is wide open and easy to win. Well, not easy to win, but it's wide open. Like the situation he's in, not only does he have one of the best defenses on paper, he has weapons, he has a great number 1 receiver, he has potentially a star breakout running back. The line should be good enough. There should be no reason for him not to go out and produce. But Ryan Fitzpatrick, I think people they're looking too into these last 3 years and these advanced analytics and his QBR is up there with Aaron Rodgers. Like, don't get it fucked up. Ryan Fitzpatrick is not that level of quarterback. Like, don't even kid yourself. It's not close to that. But he throws the ball down the field. He takes chances. I can live with the gunslinger play style. I can live with watching him or Taylor Heineke. I was going to throw up if we got Teddy Bridgewater or Tyrod Taylor to be Alex Smith Jr. I cannot watch game manager throw a flat route every play, man, again. I can't do it. I never want to see it again. I don't want to see J.D. McKissick with like 18 receptions in a game ever again. So I'm good with the Magic Man. I'm good with the Magic Man because he lets his balls hang. And I loved when he said in minicamp that I'm going to throw it where I want the ball to be and they need to adjust me. Like, you know what I'm saying? You ran the route this way, but I'm going to throw it where I'm going to put it in the game. I like the moxie. I like the swag. I like the beard. Fucking Miami Vice looking ass, Duck Dynasty looking motherfucker. I'm ready to see this dude bring some personality to the team.
I will say, though, do you think, and this is a follow-up question before I kick it out to George, do you think that the fans and everybody just kind of fall in love more with the person than they do like the production of Ryan Fitzpatrick? And how vital, Adam's talking about this competition because, Rivera hasn't named a starter yet, even though we all kind of know. How vital do you feel like training camp is as far as the quarterback race is concerned?
I mean, we just need to see if Fitzpatrick's comfortable in the offense. I mean, the motherfucker went to Harvard and he's played in 1,000 different offenses. So if he can't pick up this one, then Scott's not doing something right. But as long as he looks comfortable in the offense, he's the starter. There's not a quarterback competition. I love Ron Rivera. He wants there to be a quarterback competition. This is not the Dwayne Haskins situation. Like last year, it was owner, you drafted said guy. I don't think said guy is that good. I'm going to show you said guy is not good. I'm going to start him for a couple weeks. He's going to shit the bed. And if he does, I'm going to put the guy I traded in the game. And that's exactly what happened. Ryan Fitzpatrick is too experienced to go in with the same logic. And Taylor Heineke is too unproven of a commodity to just go in like, oh, this is the starter. I think he's going to push him and apply pressure and get most of the snaps in preseason, but it's Fitz's job. Like it's there's no competition.
It's his job to lose. And, something, George, I've seen in your social media, it's definitely something I feel like has been a talking point, is the 30 touchdown curse for Washington football team quarterbacks. Do you feel like there's a real chance that Ryan Fitzpatrick can break that curse?
I don't know. I think that's going to be the whole telltale sign of the season. I think, Rio, you were killing it, dude. I was just spitting everything. I read everything they said. I think walking into game one, unquestioned, Ryan Fitzpatrick's going to be the starter. Like, I think, I don't know if you guys caught the most recent interview. I believe it was on Washington Football Talk, but Ryan Fitzpatrick was like, it was an adjustment for me during minicamp. Like, I do know all the offenses and how a defense works in the NFL, but the verbiage and the way Scott Turner presented it to me was different than what I've seen before. So there was a transition. So going into minicamp, of course, Heineke was more comfortable walking in than Fitzpatrick was. He would know the offense better. I'd assume by the time it comes around during this whole Richmond and preseason games, Fitzpatrick's going to sort of catch up, and the level of play should be more balanced, right? And we just talked about how balanced his team is with the awesome defense and Antonio Gibson and Diami Brown and Curtis Samuel. He has weapons. He doesn't have to do too much. He doesn't have to basically put it on his back. Like my key, what I'm looking for with Fitzpatrick is, can he basically bring us back into games? We've seen over the past 5 years, we're down 7 or 10 points, it's game over in Washington, right? So now with Fitzpatrick, he can bring us back in the game. Can he avoid turnovers? He's, over the last 3 years, he had 50 touchdowns and 33 interceptions. So I do think he can produce, man. He can explode. Just be careful with the interceptions. So the 30 touchdown mark, dude, I don't think it's going to happen though. We're talking about that, Parker. Since 1967, Sonny Jurgensen was the last person to finish for 30 touchdowns for Washington. How ridiculous is that? So bad. I think Kirk Cousins came close 2015 with 29.
29.
People are 30, 40, 50 in this NFL producing them. We can't get them in DC. I think realistically, Fitzpatrick comes out of the year, does pretty well, maybe an injury or struggles. They're going to just test Heineken to see what they got. So I don't think he's going to start 17 games. But my prediction, if he starts all 17 and plays pretty well, we're winning 10 or 11 games to see. I think we're doing all right.
All the weapons are there. Guys, you mentioned it's like Curtis Samuel. Curtis Samuel's got that Deshaun Jackson level quickness, and then he's like a Deebo Samuel type when he has the ball in his hands. I mean, all Fitzpatrick has to do is show up and be what he has advertised. I mean, this free agency class in general, you look on the defensive side of the ball, William Jackson III, another fellow, free agency signing, opposing Curtis Samuel. There's going to be competition across the board. Some people don't like competition. Shout out to Terrell Pryor. If this is the end for DeAndre Hopkins, I will never forgive him for what he did to D'Angelo Hall's ankles. I will never. Speaking of training
on Hard Knocks, oh my God.
It's a big year for a lot of people, man. We're sitting talking about Cam Akers earlier. You got Antonio Gibson, another guy coming off an 11 touchdown rookie campaign. Him kind of refusing to get that foot operated on. And that's something that a lot of people have been talking about. That's going to be another story to follow. You got some depth at the position. You got Jarrett Patterson, undrafted free agent. Adam, I saw you get a lot of flack about Jarrett Patterson, kind of following him throughout most of the process. What do you feel like he brings to this running back room? And do you feel like he could be a diamond in the rough for the Washington football team?
When you're evaluating, you're supposed to just really, go by what you see. But there's also there's those guys that pop. And, he had that one awesome game where it was 7 touchdowns, 400 plus yards. Everyone's like, well, you take that game and what do you have? What you have is you have a guy that's a between the tackles runner that's north-south that's just going to attack the line of scrimmage. And Antonio Gibson is not there yet. I think he's going to be dynamic, but I think he's definitely more advanced as a receiver, and he's still learning, the cutbacks and to be patient. Right now, Patterson, I'm not saying you give him the load, but, I'm going to definitely be talking about him a lot more, even through preseason, even through camp, because there's no way, in my opinion, he's not making this team, especially, and going farther that he's going to be the second or third guy, because McKissick, Barber, Miller, to me, those guys aren't challenges. Those aren't guys that I say I want to have them ahead of him. I want to see him beat those guys out. So I think theoretically, just through everything I've seen in Buffalo, every year he got better. Then he showed, his physique is amazing. The guy's a bowling ball. And there was questions about how he would be in the receiving game. He showed it in his pro workout day. The guy's got soft hands. They'll be able to use them it's all about how can he block. Running backs are asked to do it a lot less than they used to, where, they're using tight ends to chip, different things, 12 personnel. But with Patterson, he's going to have to do that. If he can do that, he's going to get a lot more time on the field. But it's going to come down to the situation. But it's scary that, AG is going to go with that toe injury, because we saw it with Deion Sanders late in his career. We saw it with a lot of players that I think can linger a long time, that turf toe.
Can I say something real quick, Parker? Sorry to interrupt. Sure. I actually was on a podcast recently. I think it was the Fantasy Football Feast podcast, and the host was actually a physical therapist. We were just talking, and he asked me about Antonio Gibson, because more like a national podcast. He was like, he's a doctor. He's like, dude, why didn't he get the surgery? Like, I don't basically encourage people to cut into their bodies, but like with that type of surgery, it lingers. Like, he might feel better now, but might re-injure it later on. He should have done it, which I thought like that was eye-opening to me. So just putting that out there.
Yeah, that is a storyline this offseason that not a lot of people are talking about. If it haunts, it could linger, and it could really ruin the potential trajectory of his career. I hate to sound pessimistic about it. Adamson, they're talking about Jarrett Patterson. They got some guys underneath that can kind of come in and bring similar skill sets. It's competition across the board. You got Eric Flowers returning. A guy who, like Kendall Fuller, came back home. Went to Miami to get his payday. Can't really fault him for that. Training camp memories. I remember Bill Callahan, who ended up being the interim head coach of the Washington football team, was giving him all kinds of shit at training camp. He comes back. He's going to have to compete for his position as well. You got Landon Collins coming back. You kind of hoping for a feel-good story there. Him coming back from an injury, kind of wondering how that's going to affect him.
They're going to find a spot for him. Del Rio's going to get him.
And they are. And that's something we talked about on the show. They are better. They are a better football team when he is on the field. I'm not saying that he's going to get played out of a spot, but
talent.
But as far as his, as far as his talent, his injury recovery, those are going to be some things to monitor throughout training camp, because that has definitely been a storyline thing with him going throughout most of the offseason. And one of my personal favorite things I'm going to be watching is Jamin Davis, who's going to be the quarterback
Absolutely.
of the defense. Going to see whether he's line up in Mike, Sam, rushing the quarterback, see what they're going to do with him. He was drafted to be the anchor of the Washington football team. He is going to be the signal caller of that defense. Him and Micah Parsons kind of going back and forth on social media this week, talking about who could possibly be defensive rookie of the year. And I think
I love it. I love it.
I do love it. That's awesome. I think that's
Jamin is going to be definitely has a lot of responsibility on his shoulders in opposition to Micah Parsons, who's on a very loaded Dallas linebacking core. But I will say this, and we'll close out the show with this. Who is the apple of you guys' eye? Who is the number one storyline person, whatever it may be? What is the thing that you will be watching at training camp this week? Adam, I'll start with you.
Okay.
I'm a broken record, but I just think that, to me, this is you throw AG out, it's the one of the most concerning positions. Like, you've got a bunch of journeymen and receivers. So I think you have a true running back there. I think, to me, I want to see how is he going to respond to this defense getting into space. We know Chase Young and him have a relationship. They go back to their school days. So don't sleep on that help. And that, when you have a guy as the face of your franchise, having a guy like Jared Patterson, again, the only undrafted free agent they signed, those kind of things matter. So, it's just connecting the dots, and watching him preseason will be huge for him. So to me, that's my number one storyline that I'm going to be looking for. I'll definitely be talking when I get my solo show going. That'll be one of the first topics I talk about.
If we look back on it and Jared Patterson ends up being that guy for the Washington football team, I'll always remember Adam Aniba being the guy that beat that drum. I don't want to take the easy way out, but once the fans are there, and this is my selection, there will be no way to avoid the Heineke hype. I mean, that wild card game is definitely relevant still pretty fresh. The team is behind him. The fans are behind him. And when Fitztragic decides to make its appearance, those chants are going to start, man. That hype is a real thing.
Don't wish that evil on me, Ricky Bobby.
I'm not trying to wish that evil on him, but Taylor, like me and Adam have talked about, has just made a complete transformation. Of course, I feel like Fitz is the guy too. That's why Adam's prediction is a bold one. And what seems like it's going to be our last trip to Richmond, of course, it's fitting that my eyes will be on the quarterback position. Rio, what is the apple of your eye heading into training camp this week?
Mine's is Sam is. No, I'm kidding. It's not Sam is.
Chilean nightmare.
The Chilean wonder. Now, mine's is gonna be mine. It's two rookies. I hate to say two, but you said the apple of my eye, just one. I'm looking at De'Ami Brown and Benjamin St. Juste, because if they are what they can be, those 2 third-round picks, and they flash early, we are in business, because Benjamin St. Juste could end up taking over on the outside and pushing Kendall Fuller to his natural spot inside as a slot cornerback. And then at that point, there's a conversation you had about the slot corners, but I want to see De'Ami Brown against the number one corners, and I want to see St. Juste against the Terrys of the world. I want to see how he gets up there and press bump. I want to see him mix it up with them.
That's what training camp's about, man. That's what training camp's about.
Exactly. It's different when the pads come on and the bullets really start flying. So I want to see the rookies get after it. And of course, I want to see Jamin Davis. So I want to see our rookie class and Sam Cosmi as well, because I still think he's going to start at right tackle. So the rookie class, that's what I'm there to see. I'll be paying close attention to the rookies.
George, I'm going to kick it to you last, man. Who is the apple of your eye? Who is the person, storyline, whatever it may be, that you're going to be watching the most this week at Washington football team training camp?
So Rio stole my thunder, man. I was going to drop De'Ami Brown, but I'll shelve that for now. So let's go back. I'm going to do Fitzpatrick, man. I think Ryan Fitzpatrick with our offense. I just want to see how our offense clicks. I guess I'm going to take a step back, more of like a macro vision. My number one key, and I actually wrote about this for Burgundy Zone, my number one key going into training camp is going to be how Scott Turner actually implements our offense and puts into effect. I think there's no excuse for him anymore. That might be a cop-out taking the whole side of the offense. But, dude, like last year, he has 20 games under his belt. He had 4 as an interim offensive coordinator in Carolina, 16 last year in Washington. His, scapegoat, his, buyout last year, he didn't have enough talent or enough horses to basically implement his offense. I don't think he has an excuse anymore. I think he has, we have Antonio Gibson in year 2. Terry McLaurin's proven. Diami Brown, hopefully he hits and becomes a deep threat option. Adam Humphries, Logan Thomas. He has like a plethora, a myriad of players to use. He should basically take advantage of them. So I do want to see some like more, jet sweeps, some interesting, flexing, some just flexing positions. So I want to see how Ryan Fitzpatrick can implement Scott Turner's offense. Can Scott Turner be creative? So I'm looking for.
Yeah, I mean, Scott Turner's the puppet master, and there was a lot of excuses last year that he just didn't have the weaponry that he needed. There was an expanded playbook, that something he mentioned multiple times, that he couldn't just dive into certain aspects or concepts on the offense because of the hand that he was given. That excuse is not there anymore. And training camp is going to be about competition, and we're going to see how he performs as the puppet master with all of these weapons at his disposal. But it's an exciting time, guys. It was kind of a bittersweet week. Lost Mrs. Snyder earlier this week, so us here at Sidelines Washington want to send our condolences to the Snyder family, as if they were listening. Still very sad stuff. There's also some very exciting stuff on the horizon. The team announced this week that the first ever for the Washington football team Friday night football game at FedEx Field, Friday, August 6th, where we get a preview of the 2021 entertainment team, Rio, not the marching band. Should have thrown a trigger warning in there.
Drumline.
A completely free event, 20,000 fans in attendance, a scrimmage. That'll be the first football activity done at FedEx Field since COVID. I think almost 2 years now. All being capped off with a nice little pyro show, and I can't wait. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have. George, again, sorry to keep you over. It's always a pleasure having you on, brother. Like just talking about your work with the Burgundy Zone. Congratulations with that. Tell the Sidelines Washington listeners where they can find you, man.
What's up, guys? So thank you for having me. It's great always catching up with you guys. I'll probably see you at training camp as well. My name is George Carmi. You can find me at gcarmi21. I write for fullpresscoverage.com, and I also write for Burgundy Zone. So thank you guys for everything. It was a pleasure chopping it up with you all right?
Thanks again, George. Definitely won't be the last time.
Easy, brother.
Adam, tell the silent listeners what they can expect from you in the Burgundy and Gold Report moving forward.
As always, the burgundyandgoldreport.com. Follow me at the BNG Report. Stay tuned. Dropping my solo show hopefully in the next couple of weeks. Working through production work. Just all the ins and outs. Definitely is not an easy thing, especially if you're just doing a solo thing. But I'm excited for that. So yeah, the burgundyandgoldreport.com. All of our shows here, that we do on Sidelines, that's on our podcast page on the website. So just check us out, the burgundyandgoldreport.com. Hail DC.
Rio, you've been on a tear lately, man. You're on the pod swooning over Kyle and Julie. Stoked to finally meet you at camp, man. Tell the people where they can find Raw Talk and everything going on. And should we expect the Space Jam review soon?
Oh, yeah. You're definitely going to get one of those on my YouTube channel, because I'm going to start branching out and putting all types of stuff on my YouTube. So make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, Rambling with Rio Robinson, my podcast, Rambling About Washington, on all digital streaming platforms. Catch me on Twitter. Catch me at any event coming up for the team. I want to meet everybody. I promise you, I'm not an asshole. I just like to talk a little bit of shit on Twitter sometimes. I'm a teddy bear person. I love everybody.
Yeah, man. I'm looking forward to the bro hug. It's definitely warranted.
Yeah, man.
And, the movie review business, man, it's booming. And that's totally not a plug for Rudy's Gaming and Reviews. Like I said, unfortunately, that's all the time we have today at Sidelines Washington. I'll be at camp. What days are you gonna be at camp, George?
I have tickets for Wednesday through Saturday. So just got to figure it out. Just got to make my plans out there. But I'll be in touch with you guys. It'll be awesome.
Rio, you're gonna be there Wednesday through Sunday, correct?
Wednesday through Saturday. Oh, yeah, I'll be there.
Okay. Awesome. Every day. I'll be there Wednesday. Hopefully, definitely be there Thursday, and I will be repping some Sidelines gear, which hopefully get to you guys soon. I'll be there all day. You can find this, of course, in other episodes of Sidelines Washington Podcast, wherever podcasts can be found. Been appreciating a lot of the feedback we've been getting back lately, some of the reviews. Keep it up. Even if you just drop an emoji, it's warranted, and we appreciate it. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you subscribe, leave a comment, and tell us who you will be watching at training camp throughout the week. Also, click on the bell to turn on notifications as well. We have an exciting partnership that we are hopefully going to be able to announce very soon here at the Sidelines Sports Network. As you guys know, I'm the head of NFL operations here at the fastest rising sports network in the world. If you want to join the team, cover your favorite NFL team, email me at sidelineswft@gmail.com. Later this week, we're dropping a special bonus episode of the Sidelines Washington Podcast. Keep you guys at bay while all of us were having some fun at camp. The almighty Dunn and Drew stopped by. And then next week, all three of us will be back to review training camp with very special guests and friends of the pod, Tay and Todd. So do not miss it. But enjoy camp, guys. Drinking in. We'll see you there. But until next week, this is the SSN signing off.